Now we begin. Indeed, greeting unto you, beloved and holy children of light divine, indeed offspring of the one who's been called God. And if you are that offspring, indeed you are created in your Father's image, and in you remains the power to heal every false perception, to leave the world of split-mindedness behind you, and to indeed perceive the real world and to abide within it. And what can that real world be, if not the extension of love that need not be sent through a filter of fear? For indeed it is that filter that keeps the mind split, and the heart at least partially yet concealed. And when you choose wholly to remember the truth of your being, then you hold the power and the freedom to give all things over to the Holy Spirit. You can throw open the shutters of the heart and even of the cells of the body and ask, and know you will receive, that every last trace of shadow shall be released from you. For those of you that believe that healing can come only to the mind, is it not wise to ask where the mind is? And as I have sought to teach you, the body arises within the mind, not the other way around. And therefore what you see are those lumps of flesh express quite exquisitely the patterns of belief that you have held in the mind. For the body can only serve the thoughts you choose to hold, and it will do so to perfection. Therefore, if there has been a thought or a belief grounded in the misperception that you are separate from God, and therefore in the soil of fear you have perceived an inequality between yourself and your brother, and believe that you live in a fearful world, understand well that that creates reaction in the very cells of the body, and the cells themselves become like holding tanks, and you hold on quite deeply and quite strongly to ancient wounds and ancient hurts. And though you hold the thought in the mind, I am the arisen Christ, until you are truly willing to throw open the shutters of even the cells of the body and to let all those little dark shadows fly away, you are still holding on to one small dark belief, choosing to claim it as your own, and you have not released all things to the Holy Spirit for healing. You cannot know what will transpire when truly you release the whole on that last little corner of your mind that you would hold on to and claim to be your own. But you can, with great faith, trust the process that the Holy Spirit would use to release every shadow, so that even the body becomes capable of radiance. What is radiance? It is only the light you are without anything creating an obstacle to its expression. Therefore, precious friends, fear not the release of the chronic hold you have even within the cells of your body, for the body is only an extension of your thought. If you are loved wholly and in your Father's eyes you have never sinned, what then is there to fear? To fear healing? To fear release? Indeed, to fear tears? Tears and laughter are your grandest of healers and your greatest of teachers, and I confess they are far greater than I, for all I can do is come and talk to you. I can come and bring my countenance upon you, and I can stand by your side as your friend and your brother, and I certainly don't mean just momentarily as I borrow the mind and body of my beloved brother here. But whenever you turn to me, I can be with you, for indeed I am with you always. But what your laughter and tears can bring to you cannot be measured. Therefore fear them not and judge them not. Do not create an inequality, saying, well, I much prefer laughter over tears. If you have made the choice to choose healing, then embrace your tears as much as your laughter, and give thanks when they arise. Throw open the shutters of the body, and let the tears create shaking in the body. It cannot destroy you, because you are not the body. You are that which utilizes it as a vehicle of communication. And when you therefore hold on in the palm of your hand to that shadow, it creates constriction in the body out of fear. And you are choosing to limit what this beautiful vehicle can do. And it will do precisely what you command it to do. There is no one here who could not walk on water. There is no one here who could not extend healing through the body. And what prevents it? The small little corner that you have been holding on to for an awfully long time. The message that I would bring to you in this hour is this. Fear not healing. Yes, it feels like change, and thank God for that. Because if there has been depression, there have been old wounds from which you've been acting out, and acting out, and acting out, as it is called in your language. Is it not time to release it? If you would indeed be the arisen Christ, then truly have the courage to throw open the cells of the body. Now how do you do that? You don't. But abiding in faith and asking the Holy Spirit for the help you need, indeed helpers will come because they have been assigned to you, and it will not be by accident that certain ones will come into your life. And in truth, if you are desirous of healing, be vigilant to see who it is that comes into your life, and understand that they are sent to you because you have asked of the one teacher whose guidance never errs for healing and for completion. Healing, then, can often feel like death because of course it is. It is a death of a false illusion that you have held and clung to in error. And if you would be the servant of your Father, and I say this not in a serious vein, but in a very light vein, because to be a servant of the Father is to be one who expresses love and joy and laughter and play and certainty and strength and humility, compassion, patience, and vision. And if indeed you would be the servant of your Father, let that death occur down to the tips of your toes. You will not taste death, but an illusion will dissolve away. Many of you are yet hoping, fervently hoping, that you can achieve awakening by holding a thought in the mind, I am the arisen Christ. That is a great place, and the only place to start. You cannot approach healing as long as you hold the attitude that you are separate from God, because you will create a veil of fear and you will go through a process after process after process, but you will never get to the nub of it, because you don't want to. Therefore, when you understand in the mind, in the heart, the truth of who you are, that becomes the very foundation and the strength and the faith to allow the Holy Spirit to completely remake even the cells of your body. Notice that I said the cells of the body, not the cells of your body, because the arisen Christ knows he is not the body and does not possess it, that he does not begin where the body starts, and he will not end where the body is returned to the earth. He knows that the body is given of the Holy Mother for nothing save the extension of the unconditional love of God. And from the foundation you will find your strength to allow the complete and radical transformation of every aspect of your being. It is called the personality, which is just a mask made up of fears that can be translated into a vehicle of communication, the emotional body, which is the core where you've held all those ancient wounds and even the cells of the body. Therefore your kingdom shall be made new again. Precious friends, fear not the complete healing of every trace of illusion that you have harbored within your being. And if it feels like death, then embrace it. It is only death that truly counts, you see. What then prolongs the process of healing? Resistance to it, born out of the chronic holding on to nothing more than illusion. And when the illusion has truly been laid down, the body will arise, the emotions will arise, the mind, the personality will arise, but will be made new. The dreamer will have been laid to rest, and the risen Christ will finally live through you. And I ask you to join with me in the willingness to allow that healing to occur, to embrace your laughter and to embrace your tears, and to embrace every opportunity to let go of the shadows that bind you. How then can you ask the Holy Spirit to heal you if there are dark corners which you have refused to look at? Or how can you hand to the Holy Spirit what you have not yet embraced? Illusions remain powerful when you refuse to acknowledge them, and many yet hold the fear. What will happen if I truly look my illusion squarely in the eye and acknowledge that, by God, they have been controlling me? Will they be the demons that master me? Herein lies the purpose of faith, to know that you are the arisen Christ, that you abide in perfect union with God in the real world, and that you are given and sent to translate this unreal world of illusion and insanity into the real world. And you do it by acknowledging that, yes, you have been living there all along, and it is time to heal it. Healing really does not take effort. It takes allowing. Allowing every day and with every breath, so that your illusion, this unreal world, becomes translated and becomes the perfect reflection of the real world. And it can be painless when your perception changes, that healing is not frightful, that it is okay to cry in front of a friend. It is okay to pick up the phone and say, Lordy, do I need you tonight? It's okay to say, there is something going on that I don't understand, but I'm not going to constrict. I'm going to throw the body open, and if I convulse and if I vomit and if I cry and scream, who cares? It's just the release of the old shadows that have no place in the body and the mind and the emotions of the only begotten child of God. It is well and good to recite certain words. I am the arisen Christ. I live in joy and I live in light. But if you have not looked to be sure that you have embraced every shadow, it remains in the realm of a thought, and it has not yet manifested as your living reality. That is why so many become frustrated. They do all the metaphysical games. They even come and listen to me and say, Jeshua said, I am the risen Christ. Therefore, I can avoid the process of healing. If you are the arisen Christ, and I assure you that you are, you will want to embrace the very process of ensuring that no trace of illusion remains within you. You will not deceive yourself. You will not lie to yourself. And when those shadows are made present to your consciousness, you will give thanks to the Holy Spirit and to the brothers and sisters that have thrown them into your face, because they are messengers of God. They are saying, "Here, look at this," so that you can embrace it and release it. Fear not shadows, because you are made of light. A light so powerful that can dissolve shadows in an instant, you truly choose to embrace them and acknowledge them. That is how powerful each of you truly is. And the day comes when you no longer need helpers to dissolve those shadows, because with their help you have learned it's safe to embrace them, that they hold no power of mastery over you. The only reason there are such things as healers or teachers or masters is because yet within the drama you believe you need them, and not understanding the strength within you, you need to reach out for the strength of another. By all means do so. One who is truly awakening to the Christ within them recognizes how worthy they are of the help of the universe. And yet, how many times, and be honest, how many times have each of you felt that you are not really worthy of seeking and reaching out for help? I better just stuff this. After all, I don't want to bother anyone today. Anyone know the energy? God has created you as a thought of perfect love and form. And when you choose to manifest that reality, do you think he sits by idly and goes, "Well, I don't know if you are really worthy of what I can bring to you"? It's just the opposite. You are the one to whom the universe is given. You are the beloved of God. Therefore, when you know you need help, reach out for it. To do so is an act of power. It says that you understand your worth, and you will do anything to let Christ be born in you. The time comes quickly upon this earth when you are going to need to have made sure that you have healed every wound and every false perception. And the wounds can only be healed to the degree that you are willing to open up and allow that healing. Not to use the power of the mind to deceive yourself, but to understand the truth of the long journey you have been making, because it's been very complex. You are never going to really be able to look back and pinpoint the moments when a certain perception started. It's not really necessary. But you will at times be able to access certain memories that exhibit the power of that false perception. And if those moments are healed, you have healed all of them. And isn't that a lucky thing? It would be a rather long journey if you had to heal every moment in which you let a false perception lead you astray. But in each of those moments, they are really all the same. So to heal one is to heal them all. And whether healing comes because one taps into the past life, or healing becomes because they have realized that yesterday they exhibited something that was not loving and they bring the light of the Spirit to it because they have embraced it, the healing is the same, and they have healed the whole of the past. It is not necessary to hold the belief in reincarnation, and it is not necessary to go forth 1,000 lifetimes backward to find what needs to be healed, because if it needs to be healed, it is with you right where you are. Learn to look upon all your thoughts and all your actions and all your dreams and all your perceptions and ask of yourself, is this truly the will of God? Or is there a trace of fear in it? Is there a trace of limitation? Is there something that I've seen cropping up over and over again? If it crops up over and over, you know it is in need of healing. Healing has been grossly misunderstood. It's really not the fixing of anything, because to do that assumes that it is already real and that there is someone who can fix it. Healing is the mastery of allowing. Healing is the mastery of allowing to allow all things, so that they can be embraced and loved and thereby transcended. Never use the mind to minimize your behavior, your thoughts. Never use the mind to do that, because to do that you will only ensure that you will repeat that perception, that behavior ad nauseum. You are worthy of the depth of your healing. You are worthy of seeing that in truth the journey has already been completed, and your Father is just waiting for you to truly throw open the shutters and allow the fullness of the power of Christ to be lived through you. And that is fearful to the small little shadow you have been clinging to. You have heard it said in your world that many fear failure. The fear of failure ensures it. But a far greater fear is the fear of success. And in this term, in the use of this term, I am not talking about success in worldly terms. I am talking about the success of living as Christ, holy, without obstacle or block. It is that fear that leads you to hold on to the small, powerless, weak, and insane shadow that you have believed yourself to be since before time began. It takes courage to release that. It takes courage to ask for help. It takes courage to die. The whole purpose of the crucifixion is not that it saved anyone from their sins. It never did that. The purpose of the crucifixion was to demonstrate where you will continue to be throughout all of eternity until you are willing to truly let the small little shadow die, and to claim your power not just as a thought or a belief, although that's where it starts, but to allow that power to transform the emotion in every cell of the body. Then indeed the resurrection has been realized. And if I can raise the body and ascend unto my Father, so can you. I am not saying that you have to be able to be nailed to a cross that the body dies, and then resurrected in 3 days and ascend before your disciples. Of course not. I am saying that there was a demonstration of what has to happen to your perception of yourself, which is that which makes up the ego. A true healer knows that they heal nothing. A true healer knows that they fix nothing. The truest among them simply makes himself available and learns to speak a language that the one who perceives themselves as sick or diseased can understand. And they will abide with them, and they will speak the language, and they will use their modalities that they have learned, but all the while they know who it is that will effect the healing. It actually comes from the communication of that soul of that person with the Holy Spirit in whatever form they choose to think of it. And an agreement is made that healing will come because that soul has finally chosen to allow it. And often all they need is the safety of being with a healer. The greatest of healers are those that have understood that they have needed to allow correction to come to their own mind and their own emotions in their own bodies. And indeed, the greatest of healers never cease in that process. That is what keeps them on the line of power, if you want to call it that, so that the Holy Spirit can work through them. A true healer is one who has, in a sense, made a grand sacrifice of their life. They no longer are anxious to get to the end of healing, but they enact the act of healing daily, throwing themselves open always so that they remain in communication with those that come to them, and never forget what it means to be in the process of healing. Now, that is very paradoxical, and I hope you will take some time to contemplate it, because in the act of, in a sense, donning the cloak of one who is constantly working on their healing, they are actually liberated. And out of their liberation they take on the form of one involved in healing, so they can be with their brothers and sisters and be an effective channel of healing. Does that make sense? It is very important, if ever you come across a healer that says, "I have already got it all licked, now let me fix you." Please turn around and leave, because that is an unhealed healer. There are many of you in this room who are making shifts in consciousness, and your compassion is opened. Your understanding that there is nothing outside of you has begun to open, and you have thus begun to see that your brother and sister is not outside of you, and cannot be outside of you. And out of your compassion you want to help them heal. You will be effective to the degree that you allow in everyday healing to come to you, and to never shut your heart to the process. And if it means that you think you may cry tears in every day of your life for the next 247 years, you will gladly do it, because that keeps you in that line of power so that the Holy Spirit can work through your humble heart and extend the healing to the one who has asked for it, but needs you as an intermediary because their strength is not yet certain enough to come to the throne of God directly. And the greatest of days will come when all the healers that understood what it means to truly be healers are out of work, and when they too will rejoice because their work will have been finished. Please do not fear healing, but I have come to speak about the specific subject tonight because there are some among you who are creating a dichotomy within yourself. You are actually widening the split while holding on to the illusion, created with the power of the mind, that you have already gotten it finished. Anyone feel like that? You are worthy of being healed, so you might as well get on with it. The kingdom needs you to be healed. Will you know when it's completed? Here's the rub. When in truth healing has been completed, you won't even care if it has been completed, because your life will become, we will use the word here, sacrificed. But I don't mean it in your normal sense of loss. It is a gift given freely by you. It is like looking at your brothers and sisters and saying, "Gosh, they sure are enjoying groveling in the muck and mire. Because I love them, I am going to get down on my hands and knees and grovel too. And just maybe one of them will look at me. And if they look at me at the right time, the Holy Spirit might be able to work through me. But the Holy Spirit will never be able to work through me if I don't get down on my hands and knees." Enlightenment, salvation, is not about keeping the mud off of your knees. It is the freedom to be in the mud without identifying with it, but allowing yourself to be there as long as the sonship still needs you. Now, if that were not true, when I ascended to my Father, I would have waved goodbye and I would have wished you well. But you have never heard from me again. Understand what I mean when I say that I never really left this world and that I work without ceasing. I can only do so because I completed my part in the atonement as a man who walked upon this plane. Therefore, that is the path you too must take, to let yourself complete the process of healing, so that out of your freedom you can take on the cloaks of this world and look like everyone else until they learn that they are not separate from God. I am only a temporary meditation bringer to you, and the grandest of days it will come to me is when you look past me and need me no longer. But until that day I will work without ceasing because I love you, and every genuine healer understands the heart from which those words are spoken, because they are spoken from the heart of Christ. That is more than any one embodiment could ever contain. I am merely one who is like you, but has become identified with the Christ, and I call you to do the same. The water is fine, jump in. But to jump in, you see, you have to remove your bathing suit of your wounds that you have refused to embrace so that they might be healed. There can't be any dust on your body when you jump into the water of eternity. So many of you are standing on the platform constantly repeating that prayer. Holy Father, let there be light. However, I want to keep this little smudge on myself. I want to hold on to it as my own because I put a lot of energy into creating it. My God, I've spent lifetimes becoming as wretched as I could be, and now you want me to let it go? I've spent lifetimes convincing myself that I am weak and frail, and now you want me to let it go? How dare you? I have used the power you have given me, Father, to create unlike you, and I have been rather proud of it. I have even created a sense that I am separate from you, and that took a lot of doing. And now you want me to let it go before I jump into that lake of eternity? Well, unfortunately, yes. Let your life be a sacrifice, not a painful sacrifice. That's been done 1,000 times. It is not a lot of fun. Let your life be a sacrifice in the sense that you realize that you are just walking around pretending like you are a body, pretending like you are just a person so that you can make yourself available to those who still believe they need an intermediary. A teacher of God is nothing but a temporary device. Please, I beg of you, contemplate well what I have shared with you. It is very important because it is really the journey of everyone, not just a special class of species that are called healers. You are all healers, every one of you. Learn all you can about it. Apply it to yourself. Become one who loves to heal. Not by groveling in your past, but just by noticing the nuances that come when certain circumstances seem to elicit reactions. Don't pretend it isn't happening, or it will only continue. And that one veil, though subtle as it may seem, may be the very veil that keeps you eternally on the wheel of birth and death and the drama of separation. If you want to see the planet healed, then be very fervently involved in your own healing, not by picking yourself up by your bootstraps, but by asking for help and noticing what comes into your life. It's there for a reason. If indeed nothing arises by accident, then it must be there for a reason. Now, does that mean that you need to take upon yourself great humility and seriousness and say, God, I'm such a wretchful, sinful creature after all, and I've been fooling myself. I have got to dig deep. Boy, do I have to work to do so. No, it means to embrace it and move into healing with joy and with strength and with certainty. Have fun with it. Have you ever spent an hour seeing how deeply you can cry? It has been said by another teacher that some of you are familiar with, that every tear releases 1,000 years. Well, what would 1 hour of true gut-wrenching crying do? Get into it, because just on the other side of those tears, divine laughter comes. Some of you have experienced that. When you are truly into it, something seems to shift. Anyone experience that? Then why would you fear tears? Why would you fear what you have been taught to perceive as gut-wrenching pain? That is just an illusion of perception. When the body shakes with tears, you have been taught to believe it because you are weak and wretched. Those that can allow tears exhibit great strength. I hope it all makes sense. Some of you in this room, while I have been speaking about this rather forcefully, have felt a little contraction like, oh God, do I really have to do this? Yes, and your delight rests just on the other side of doing it. When you are in pain, don't deny it. Own it. It does not mean that you take on the perception that you are anything other than Christ. Even in your pain, even if memories are coming up, you can still keep your attention on the light of Christ and bring that light to it without blocking it, without cutting it off. It is indeed most empowering to know and to experience that you can be wailing and at the very same moment directing the healing light of Christ right into that wailing, because those wailings are lifting the lid. And what's bubbling up out of it can then be healed by the light is coming to it. The healer is just one that helps to do that for you until you figure out that you can do it for yourself. And a genuine healer will always rejoice when they perceive and see, thank God, they don't need me any longer. Now I can go on to the next person.